Now, how does performance change when you meet these longer distances? I've drawn a graph of the distance against time for world record female runners. So these are the world records for those distances for females. So from about 100 meters to 10K, I could draw quite a straight line graph. It's a bit curved at the beginning, but the slope is reasonably constant at about 5.6 meters per second. So that is for the world record for female runners. Now, take it out, instead of 10 kilometers, take it up to about 250 kilometers. Again, distance against time for the world records, female runners. And we've got quite a bend. We're not going straight up. We are slowing down. And here, in this 24-hour race here, the time was about half of the previous value, 5.6 meters per second. We just can't keep that up for such a long, long time. Ultrarunning is another regime. It's impossible to keep up such a strong speed. How does performance change with time over the years? I've downloaded time, that is for 100-meter men, 9.6 seconds to 10.6 seconds, against the year going from 1910 to present day. And these are the world records. So in 1912, for 100 meters, the record was 10.6 seconds. See, there's quite a spread here for each time because the accuracy wasn't so great. It's only plus or minus 0.05 seconds. So you've got a spread there of about 0.1 second on the time. It wasn't until 1977 that fully automatic time measurement came into being. So you see the spread now is much smaller. The accuracy is much better. So 10.2 seconds in 1941, 1968, that's pretty fast. And of course, lightning bolt in 2009 in Berlin, 9.58 seconds. Are they comparable? Is it fair to compare these times? This is what it looked like in the 1896 Athens Olympics. And here, even in 1964, runners were not on these super all-weather tracks. They were running on fine cinders. Do you know cinders? It's an igneous rock. It's rather like pumice stone. It's got a lot of air, and when you run, it makes a crushing sound. So running on cinders is a little bit different from running on a modern track. Also, there were no starting blocks for these 100-meter races. The runners had to take a trowel and dig a little hole to put their feet in. So, is it really comparable? Also, they had no sports shoes. They were very primitive in those days, not like our Nikes and so forth nowadays. So can we really compare those times, especially when somebody like Jesse Owens was doing 10.3 seconds? It's not like Kouros. I said Kouros is better by 10% than anybody else in the world. So if he was doing 10 seconds, then the nearest rival would be on about 11 seconds, 10% difference. So I think one must have some caution in comparing the times from beforehand with nowadays, because the conditions were very different then. Let's look at the female to male performance. how good are men and women in comparison? So I've listed some sports. These are all swimming. These are running. And here are the times for men and for women. So we have the performance ratio. So the men's times are about 90% of those of the women's times. Here they're listed in a pictorial way. So about 90%. How do they compare in 24-hour races? Male and female. How are they? Of course, the world record is Mami Kudo. Where did she come from? I wonder. Oh, Japan, of course. And she's got the female world record for a 24-hour race. Kuras, of course, has the male record, so the ratio is about 0.84 there. But looking at world records on road and track from 203 to 2013, here's the male champion, here's the female champion, and we take the ratio and it's about normally 0.9. So the female to male performance is about 0.9. But, you know, in a 24-hour race, there's always a lady on the podium. They're always there because they do a very good time. I'll give you some examples. In the Suzhou in Taipei race in 2011, the 24-hour race, Sakir from Japan came first. Mami Kudo, terrific run. She came second, so she was second overall out of about 50 runners. A great performance. Always a lady on the podium. In 2005, here are 3 ladies greater than 200 kilometers. And for the men, there were 10 of us, I was there, greater than 200K. So even so, the ladies, really a great performance. I would take that figure of 0.9 out of your mind because there's always a lady around the top on the podium.
You are the oldest.
Well, I was 60 then, yes. I'm 70 now. Yeah. I was a bit older than some of them.
So
yeah.
why? So we cannot see so many young people. So I think that all of them are more than 38, 35.
Yeah, well, even for a marathon, they hardly allow people under 16 to run. And they think it's better that you are over 30, maybe. But there's no age limit for entry. Sometimes there are younger guys, but I don't think they have the stamina, and I don't think they have the mental capability. That's the most important thing. Yeah. It's easy to give up. Yeah. Well, how does performance change with your gene pool and your body type? You know, in Kenya, there is a tribe called the Kalenjins. It's only about 6% of all the Kenyan people, nearly 5 million of them. And one could compare that to the population of USA, for example, where there are more than 300 million people. So not many, only about 5 million Kalenjins. Here they are. And they dominate the world's ultras, the world's marathons, and so forth. 17 American men in history, that's always, forever, have run a marathon under 2 hours, 10 minutes. Well, in 1 month, 32 Kalenjin did it. That's quite astonishing. Just in 1 month, there were 32 of these guys who could do it. But since history, only 17 Americans have done it. So that shows there is something in their gene pool and their body. Look at them. Look at that leg. It's so thin. And the thin means it's got a large surface area to volume. Very good for cooling, like a radiator. Long legs. Very good stride. And they can swing their legs like a pendulum to really get into the air and stride. So they have something in their genes to make them so successful. Well, their training period is based on a vegan diet almost. They're based on 86% vegetable, 14% animal food with no drugs or dietary supplements. So they take in about 80% carbohydrates, 10% fat, and 10% protein. That is their regime, their training regime. Now, if you want to run a marathon, how much do you need? How much energy do you need? It depends really on quite a few things, mainly upon your body mass. So we'll take this figure, about 130-pound male. You would need around 2,220 calories to run. Well, actually, you could have that stored. You can load up to 2,000 calories beforehand. You can even load up to 8,000 calories of fat. Normally, runners do carbo loading. They eat a lot of spaghetti the week before, and it takes some time to excrete that, but they put on weight when they're carbo loading, because 1 gram of carbohydrate brings you 3 grams of water also, so you don't carbo load too much because you're putting on extra weight. Now, if you want to know how much intake you need while you are running, the expenditure per kilometer can be a factor of your body weight. So if we take that figure, 130 pounds, we have this factor. You can look at the website and see where it comes from, but we'll come to the figure, 51 calories per kilometer is what you need to run the marathon. Now, your running rate, how many kilometers per hour are you going to run? Let's say we're doing a 5-minute kilometer, that's 12 kilometers per hour. So we have the number of calories per kilometer, the number of kilometers per hour. Now we can go on to the number of calories per hour. So for our hourly expenditure, we need 614 calories per hour. But actually, you can only take in about 30% of what you are expending. You can only physically absorb about 30% of what you expend. So we take 30% of that and say, if we take in nearly 200 calories per hour, it's good, it's okay. What do we do to take in 200 calories? Well, we could have a Pocari, or we could have a banana, and we would be way over 200 calories each hour. Maybe we don't need that much because we have quite a lot of calories stored. But if you take nothing in, maybe you're going to hit a wall at about 30 kilometers of the marathon race. So you do need to take in some sports drink to keep in your energy. If you're taking carbohydrates, for every gram, you get 4 calories. Protein, the same. Fat, you get more calories, but it takes much longer to digest. So that's about how much you need to take in when you're running a marathon. How can I run faster? People used to tell me, you move your legs faster and you can run faster. But actually, that's maybe true to some extent. But if you want to run faster, you've got to have longer, more powerful strides. Open your legs more. And Bolt, when he runs 100 meters, he does it in 41 strides, huge strides. An amateur runner would take a lot more, maybe up to 55 strides. The average athlete, when he's taking each stride, his foot contact with the ground is about 0.12 seconds. He's hitting the ground 0.12 seconds each stride. An elite athlete doesn't spend so much time on the ground, and he's flying. He's in the air. About 60% of time, they're flying. They're actually in the air and not touching the ground. So if you want to run faster, open your legs, learn to stride much more. Be like Bolt, and you can't fail.